Hello, I'm Lois Barr. I'm your host for Poetry Today. I'm your guest host, and I'd like to thank Jennifer Dobson for asking me to do this. And I'd like to thank our guest, Jacqueline Nicole Harris, for being here today. Jacqueline is from North Chicago. She's a graduate of Shimer College. She has 5 books of poetry published, and she's going to be reading from a few of them today. Let's see. Oh, she's also published stories in Black Girl Magic in a recent issue, so look for that on the web. Jackie, what else would you like to tell us about yourself?
I am a year shy of 40. I'll be 40 next year.
You're a baby.
And I've been, so they tell me, but I've been writing for a long time. I've been writing off and on since I was a little girl. But I first started performing my art and writing poetry in 1999 as a kind of outlet for myself. And it was a way to express myself in a way I hadn't before. A lot of times when I was younger, I was very shut in and quiet and a little morose, and people didn't want to be around me. But, you know, sometimes you have to grow out of certain things and come out of your own shell and experience life and living, and poetry has allowed me to be able to do that. So I'm grateful to be here on my 5th book, and I look forward to finishing my novel, Good Hair, Bad Magic, sometime next year.
Oh, that's a great title, Good Hair, Bad Magic. Ooh.
Yeah, and I want to keep writing and see where this journey takes me with my own words. And hopefully I put something out there that I'm remembered for.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of times I'm asked to speak in front of teens, and I have to tell them poetry doesn't pay bills that much.
You did get paid for your 2 stories, though.
Yes, Black Girl Magic Literary Magazine. It's available on Amazon.com now. I was published in their 2nd issue, their 2nd inaugural issue, and I managed to get 2 of my stories published. And it was a great feeling to be validated in that way, to see my stories where they were meant to be published and to get paid for it. It's a great validation for any writer. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Jackie puts herself out there a lot as far as competing in the pentathlon. She won the 2015 Poetry Pentathlon. And this year you came in 3rd. What's it like? I mean, how did you get the nerve to do this? What's the pentathlon like?
Well, first, the pentathlon, first time I competed was in Highland Park. Highland Park has their own Lakeshore edition. But the Poetry Pentathlon was started by Waiting for the Bus. And a man named David Buddha Hargarden, I want to get his name right. And it's really involved. The poets who do compete in it take it very seriously. I have never seen, it's not Roman Colosseum combative, but it's pretty close intellectually. There are 5 rounds. This year in Chicago, Waiting for the Bus's Poetry Pentathlon, there were 5 rounds, and there's always 5 rounds. You're writing in form. You're writing sometimes free verse. You're writing sometimes in rhyme. You don't know what anyone's going to throw at you or how they're going to come at you. It all depends on who you're competing against. And basically, you're not only competing against them, but you're competing against yourself. I wrote my first Sistina in 2015 for the Poetry Pentathlon, and that set the bar for the whole competition, and that allowed me to win.
But you had written ahead of time.
Yes.
Because I remember you brought that to our poetry workshop in Deerfield, and
yes.
I admired that very much.
Yes. I needed to know I knew what I was doing. because I don't want to embarrass myself when I go in front of crowds.
Yeah.
But
But then some things you write when you get there. You have to do it on the spot.
yes, the fourth or fifth round, actually the fifth round is called the on-the-spot prompt, which you get as soon as you get there, and you have to start writing almost immediately.
Wow.
So in between rounds where you're sitting down listening to other people, you could be jotting down ideas for your next poem or writing it down fully.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Yeah. I can imagine. So, a lot of your poetry, I mean, you said that poetry is what makes you get up every day and get going and keeps you going. And so I wondered if you would read something from your first book in the introduction of Random Acts of Verse. You have, I guess, sort of some of your worst memories. So I wondered if you would read a little bit from the introduction, and then we'll go to your poem that follows.
Well, this is Random Acts of Verse, Chapter 1, Random Love, Pain, Random Pain. Well, I didn't love myself, and some days getting up in the morning would in fact be an experiment in disaster. High school was complete and utter hell for me. It was supposed to be a monumental time of first and self-discoveries. A girl is supposed to have all her important firsts in high school, right? Well, my first kiss involved a lot of tongue and slobber. It was with some kid who must have thought he was doing me a favor by stringing me along and lying to my face about who he was and why he loved me. Yes, he, not I, used the L word first. He would not have been my first choice, but I didn't think I had a choice. I was convinced that I was a troll and destined to be alone, used and misunderstood forever. Being a spoken word artist was not even a part of my thought process. I was just trying to live day to day without killing myself. Yep, I was another tired teenage cliche.
Yeah. And then the poem, the first poem in the collection, it was one of my favorites of yours. It's This Is Not a Love Poem.
Yeah. This poem is it's been so done so many times by me and people that know me, and I go to competitions. Sometimes I'll ask my audience what they want to hear.
So this is one of their favorites too?
Unfortunately. This is not a love poem. I am not about to write another sad bastard love poem, another sappy sonnet about the no-good liar that was my ex poem. Though I won't say his name in this poem or write a fat bastard will suffice even if he is now skinny poem, or he is his own problem and not mine poem. Still to him I must say a thank you poem, and I will always remember that when you left me behind, you left me wiser, richer, and able to follow my own dreams poem. And God is not punished me by getting me pregnant with your seed poem. So no, this is not another sad bastard love poem about what you did behind my back poem. Well, I trusted you to be true poem, and you just used me to screw poem. This is a thank you poem, and I am getting the hell on with my life poem, with myself together in my weave tight poem, and I need not say your name because you know who you are. Thomas.
Yes, Thomas, wherever you are. So I can see why that's a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, and I wouldn't come up against you in a pentathlon, that's for sure. So in a real contrast to that, you sort of out of your character in the East on Central, the latest edition, edited by our own Judith Kaufman, you have a love poem. And would you read it? Thank you.
It's a little out of character, but
it's out of character, that's why I like it.
Let's make some magic before our last days. Play naked in the mud under the moon after a long rain. Throw shade at uptight folk who sneer at our lumps and imperfections from behind glass house windows. Laugh at ourselves later in the bathtub. Remember the sight of us rolling like pigs in a blanket of wet earth and joy? Afterward, air dry in each other's arms, and while you lie by my side, I'll lick my thumb and draw invisible pictures of our life on your skin, weaving a tapestry of sensation for us to live on until the next rain.
That is a yummy poem. And I love the rolling like pigs in a blanket. That's one of my favorite appetizers of all time.
I don't write love poems. They don't usually come out this succinct or this quaint or beautiful. Sometimes they're really downers. And I can't say I'm a big believer in romantic love.
Yeah.
I'm not. But this, I love the artwork Judith has chosen to put next to this poem because it's really speaks a lot to the poem itself, and the poem speaks a lot to the picture. And
Did you write them together?
the poem,
Did you know the artist ahead of time?
no, I did not know the artist ahead of time. I wish I had, because this is perfect.
Yeah, that's, I think, the hallmark of East on Central is when they pair the
The art
artwork
with the writings.
with the work. Yeah,
So
thanks.
I'm proud to be a part of East on Central, and I'm proud that they have published at least 6 of my poems in the past. So
Yeah.
it's a wonderful publication to be a part of. So
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. So let's get to your new book. You want to hold that up so we could get a close-up of your cover, On Life. And want to tell us a little bit of what you were trying to do with with your 5th book?
my 5th book, I wanted to share some of the chances I've been taking with my work. I wanted to play with line breaks and sounds and alliteration. I wanted to be fierce and just unforgettable. And I think I accomplished that. I think this is my best work. It may honestly be my last book of poetry because I want to write short fiction. My first love was always horror fiction, and I want to finish my novel, and I want to write more short fiction, flash fiction. I was so big on Stephen King and Anne Rice and Alice Walker and so many great authors out there. And I want to get back to that and become a part of that kind of, basically. I just want to grow a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, no, you can't.
But I'm not going to stop writing
You can't
poetry.
abandon us.
No, I will not abandon poetry. I will not abandon poetry or being a poet because I still have that zen in me. I still have that zeal for the written word. So.
Yeah. And I think even when you're writing a novel, I mean, a poem, you'll wake up in the morning and something just will be on your mind that it's going to be a poem and it's not going to be a part of a novel.
Right.
So the first one you were going to read is The Open Wound.
The open wound in my heart is, well, it's rather telling. It's about my surgery I had in March. I went in for a myectomy. I came out with sort of a partial hysterectomy. It's something that happens to women. It's not uncommon. The open wound in my heart. I awoke in pain in a hospital room on the same floor that new mothers bond with their babies. Even now I wake up with pain and emptiness, and I think to myself the hard part is over. So don't cry, don't get angry. Pain don't hurt. It's just a reminder that you are living and no less of a woman. The surgeon could not preserve my womb without reserving more pain for me. So I awoke to a predestined path of blind acceptance. Some things you can't control. Some things you have no control over. It is all a part of God's plan. Lord, am I more than the sum of my missing parts? I wonder. This Sunday in church, I stared too long at a little girl that wasn't mine. She innocently played make-believe amongst the parishioners' seats, and that damn scar on my belly began to itch like a whisper that said, "That ain't for you." And while the sermon blared on about purpose and timing and God's plans, the tears that began to form in the corners of my eyes whispered back, I know.
The stanza where you make the shift to the little girl in church is where this poem just grabs you. And then really, it's just a wonderful scene that you've depicted there of a terrible, terrible pain. So, and the form is interesting. You've been very sparse here.
I think less is more. You're dealing with something this emotional, this tragic in some ways. Less is more. You can say a lot less with one good word than you can with 100.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's one thing poetry has taught me.
Right, yeah. And then the next poem is If.
If I could, I'd put all the answers for my life into one poem. The paper alone would have to reach across the universe far enough to hug it twice. I don't have time for that. I live between the similes of a mother's cry, of a mother's tears and a baby's cry. The metaphors of open doors, the lights at night in the sky. My days are mostly spent with unanswered questions roaming in my head, stifled by my own imagination. And I'd rather not ask questions, so I clothe my hours in silence just to hear myself breathe, or just to hear my pen tip scratch the paper. That alone orders my universe.
I really like that one. And, you know, in our poetry workshop, we tend to scratch out the conjunctions, the articles, the definite articles, and so forth. And you highlight if, and you highlight so, and or. And why did you do that?
I highlight if, and, so, and or, because that's where most of life's questions are. What if? If I do this, or can I be, or can I not be? It's about finding a balance, mostly within yourself first, and then sorting the rest outside of yourself with just finding yourself and then bringing that part out into your outer world, family, friends, enemies, whatever. I can't explain it better than that, except that's what that poem is about.
Yeah.
Just trying to order my world in a way that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So everything else can just fall away and I'll just still have something solid to grasp to.
Yeah, that pen scratching on the paper, you're still alive, you're still here, whatever else happens.
I still
you
have
still
purpose
have-
and I exist.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I really like that. And I like the space that the conjunctions give it for you because you're dealing with the big issues. And so I think the conjunctions give us the space to really take it in, take it all in. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Thank you.
So let's see. Okay. On Passing for Black at Northeastern.
NIU.
No,
Northern.
Northern Illinois University. Excuse me. Much further away.
This was written in 2005, I think. No, it was written before 2005. It was actually published in a book called Ballad of a Broken Heart that I published online for something else. On Passing for Black at NIU, I'm going to read it and you can ask me what it's about, but here I go. Today I will remember yesterday and I'll try to let it go. You see, I remember a time when I thought that I knew my place in my race, a place where I fit in with my own people. But soon, I was to learn that dark skin and nappy hair do not a Negro make, nor are they the ties that bind us. Still, I wondered, Africa, have I sinned against you because my voice sounds so white? And Egypt, have I sinned against you because some of my friends were white? Now, black I was, and black I still am. Just not fair enough or pretty enough to be a queen. She, me, I is just a female, the kings would say. Oh, I say to you, my true black people, I have sinned against you all because I am ignorant. Africa, I don't understand. And I can't change the package the Lord put me in, nor would I blaspheme by trying. No, I won't change his will. Still black, I think you should know that white thought I was ugly too. And white treated me the same way you do. How can I not be black enough? Tell me, is there a paper bag test for my voice, my body, my lack of beauty? How can I not be black enough when under the rays of Ra's sun my already dark brown skin fades into a deeper, darker mahogany that glows like a living shadow? How? Africa, what do I need to do to win back your favor? Egypt, what do I need to claim truthfully that your beauty is my own? I ask myself these questions 1,000 times while the echoes of she sounds so white and she is so bogus and just tell her stupid self that you can think she's pretty and you can get her still rang in my ears. Yet there was a day when I could have shined for you all in my own way. The day when 1,000,000 men marched on Washington, D.C. Black spoke to me and said, "Don't go to class. It is a holiday for us." For us. Oh, us. That day, my people, I was just black enough to matter, wasn't I? I finally had a place. That day it was enough that my so white sounding self existed in this dark skin. That day because one of the royalties said it was okay. Well, I am proud to say that I went to class anyway. I am what I was that day. I am proud. I am alone. And now I am a grown woman. You see, just be black enough for one day is not enough for me. I am black every day. With an ugly face, funny shape, white voice, and among white friends, I stand out. Even among you kings and queens, I stand out. A slave among slaves, a drop in a dark well, a ruby among black diamonds, I stand out. And today, that is enough.
Okay. Do you want to tell us? You were at Northern Illinois?
When I graduated from high school, I went to Northern Illinois University. It was not my first choice as a college, but it was closer to home than the other colleges that had accepted me. My first experience at a college was not a positive one. There was a great racial divide growing at that college. Probably still is there for all I know. But I left after one semester after being picked on and prodded and used. And most of it stemmed from colorism, which is like in your own group racism, if you can get my drift. I was told I sounded too white. I was threatened with rape twice, once by a black person, a black man, the second time by a white man, because I didn't look or sound the part of what a black person should be. I was told I sounded too white, once again, that I was ugly, and if you told, and I heard them talking about me at one time, as people tend to talk about you when they think you're not in the room or they think you can't hear, just tell her she's beautiful and you can have her. As if women are just something to pass around or something. So,
boy, that hits a nerve as far as politics today, but this shows poetry today. So,
well,
wow.
The end of the poem describes the day when the 1,000,000-man march happened. They were encouraging all the black students to stay in, particularly the black female students to stay in and support our men. And a lot of them went to the 1,000,000-man march, and I was feeling despondent and angry anyway. And none of these people were paying my tuition anyway. My mother, my single mother, was at home paying my tuition and sending me care packages and good words to help me continue. So I went to class after thinking about it and falling asleep on it. I got up and went to class.
Yeah.
And that day has defined my days ever since. I don't want to be anyone's follower or anyone's token.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's those days when you make those choices that really say who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you were going to read In the Presence of That Stern, Practical Mother Reality.
Wow.
Oh, before you start, I'm sorry. It's for Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley, and I had no idea who she was. And thank you, I looked her up and got her book on Amazon. Do you want to just...
Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley was a dressmaker for First Lady of the United States during Abraham Lincoln's presidency. She was a well-known fashionista. She dressed even Jefferson Davis's wife. She was also the author of a book, 30 Years a Slave, or My Days at the White House. And her story could easily be made into a movie.
Should be.
Her relationship with the president and his wife at that time should be the stuff of legends. It should be in there, at least in our history books, if only as a mention, because she and Mary Todd Lincoln were very close until this book came out, and they kind of had a falling out because of it. Because Mary Todd Lincoln thought the book was painted her in a bad light, and Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley wasn't trying to do that. This was in the days and the years after President Lincoln was assassinated. So if you have the time, look up Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley. This poem is based on a quote of hers that I found, and I took the time to look her up too after I read the quote. And I'm going to read the poem so you can get an idea of where I'm at, where my head's at with it. In the presence of that stern, practical mother reality. For Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley. This reality is cold. Even on the hottest of days, she chills, kicking our butts to life, whispering inspirations into our ears, clouding our minds with audacious hope. Reality. In her, we are already finished. Right now, we have already begun. History, the things we know now and know not of, shaping the bitterness of our relative lives. As we relive tragedies in multiples of threes and swallow the sour milk from her breast, American reality, it's like after birthing us, she left us in her filth to go and told us to go play in the street. What do I really know of Africa that hasn't been force-fed to me? So far removed from from that reality. A lost child who sees her reflection in rivers and throws rocks in the waters to break up the vision. What do I really know? America is a wilderness that grows more foreign to me. Every day I see the hopes and dreams of slaves melting in hot flashes of gunfire, fading in pools of blood. I wish I could dream my way out of this. But that isn't practical. No, that isn't realistic. In the presence of that cold, stern, practical reality, nothing I am is legitimate. Nothing I am or will be will ever force the hand of reality. America is still afraid of the dark.
Whoa, that was good. That's a good one, Jackie.
I think it should be said the exact quote is, the dreams of the slave, in the presence of that stern, dark mother reality, faded. You can look it up for yourself because I just misspoke, but I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was really good, Jackie.